One of the questions I get all the time is, Hunter, where do you find good Arbitrum data? So not just TVL, not just TPS, but like sequencer fees, DAO revenue, all this stuff, frankly, that's pretty hard to find if you don't know where to look. And the stuff that I use every single day, that's what we're going to talk about. So the best resources for tracking all things Arbitrum, which ones I personally use, and why you might want to use them too by the end of this video. Starting off with L2Beat, I use these guys mainly for taking a look at risk parameters for each different chain, and of course looking at TVS, TVL, kind of the same thing that I was mentioning earlier. But if you go onto each different project, so in this case, let's go to Arbitrum 1, since that's what the video is about, you can take a look at all the different stats and analytics that they show you here. This is all very technical stuff, so I don't usually use all these things. As you can see, they have a little pesto pie to show off the risk of each different chain. But personally, just to scroll back up here, I mainly use this for the TVS when I want to see obviously how high Arbitrum's TVS is growing day over day and which assets are contributing to that growth. So as you can see, some of the largest assets on Arbitrum include USDC, Rain, ETH, ARB, Tether, tons of different assets. Next, we have GrowThePie. Now, I mainly use GrowThePie specifically to show off stablecoin supply for Arbitrum, since that's usually, of course, above most other chains, besides Ethereum, since those guys are enormous. I also use it to take a look at Arbitrum 1 specifically, since they have a pretty cool dashboard that shows off live TPS of the chain, pretty much, the different stats, like I mentioned, stablecoin supply, revenue, app revenue. But besides those, I actually use it for Robinhood tokenized stock tracker. I'm going to show you another one as well later on in the video, but these guys did a great job, I think, at just kind of visualizing what the phases of Robinhood's coming on chain will look like, as well as giving you like a visualization, giving you a visualization of the different stocks being tokenized, the value of all of them being tokenized, and of course, like I mentioned earlier, kind of like clips pretty much from the live stream that they did in Cannes, showcasing why they're coming on chain and how they're going to do it. Next, we have DeFiLlama. Now, this is a classic if you're in crypto. I mainly use this to track, number one, how many protocols are coming and deploying on Arbitrum, since it happens to be right behind Ethereum in the BSC. Of course, take a look at DeFi TVL as well, but also app-specific growth on Arbitrum 2 is also really interesting for me to track. As you can see, you have GMX, Aave, USDAI, kind of different apps that you may already know and some apps that you may not even know. The nice part about this is that you can also find new apps by using this. And the best way to do that is usually just by ranking it by the TVL chains by a month, 7 days, 1 day. But I just discovered too that these guys have so many more stats for each specific project. It's actually insane. Like I can scroll here for a solid like 20 seconds and just keep scrolling and I'll find more and more stuff. And, kind of more to what we'll see later on. There's a lot more stats being introduced that are related to financials, profit, earnings, losses, stuff like that, that I think does actually end up helping the end user much more than seeing how much value a project already has locked into its protocol or anything else like that. Next, we have Artemis. Now, pretty simply, I use Artemis specifically to track net flows in and out of Arbitrum. That's it. That's literally it. These guys do actually have very, very good charts for stable coins and ecosystem metrics and stuff like that. But since there's so many other dashboards that I'm going to show you later on that I personally use that other stuff for, Artemis, I very specifically use just for this, just to see where Arbitrum is in the 6 month, the 3 month, the other different months. Usually Arbitrum is somewhere near the top 5, considering that it's kind of a hub for liquidity amongst all of crypto, from Ethereum, from Hyperliquid, from different chains all around. So it's always nice to kind of just take a screenshot, post it on X, and see what people say. Because it's usually it's good news for the most part. And of course we have Blockworks. I don't use them for that much, to be honest. I do appreciate that the front of the dashboard showcases more exotic stats that most people probably wouldn't care about, but like on a surface level, but in all reality are probably more interesting, like REV, application revenue, stuff like that. The only reason why is because you do need a subscription to access more of the detailed information. But yeah, the charts are good. I just can't really access them all because I don't have a subscription to them. So I want to end off with one of my favorite data wizards, Entropy. These guys literally have so much data that they need a Dune dashboard for the other dashboards of data that they have. Think about that. It's insane. As you can see in this list, there's literally stuff from the Arbitrum DAO, Arbitrum 1, Arbitrum DeFi, Ethereum, and if you scroll down, they have protocol-specific stuff like Fluid, Franklin Templeton, Morpho, Robinhood, and specifically because there's so many different charts. Now, I use Entropy's data when it comes to DAO financials, probably one of the most interesting ones. For example, this one shows you a breakdown of revenue, where it comes from, and the percentage for the Arbitrum DAO. this is going to be an interesting one to track. And as you can see, if you scroll down, you can kind of start to track all of this stuff, which again, I think is going to be much, much more interesting and more important as Arbitrum starts to grow into a proper digital sovereign nation. Arbitrum RWAs, this is by far one of my favorite ones. Shows you how much TVL in RWAs is growing on Arbitrum, who's actually tokenizing stuff, the types of tokenization by asset type, and of course the different assets. And then lastly, the Robinhood stock tokens. These, like, this is probably by far my favorite dashboard. Similar to GrowThePie ones, it'll show you the TVL, the number of assets tokenized, which assets are tokenized, but they go into a little more depth. You can see the mint and burn volume. Entropy in general, if you're looking for any type of exotic information that you think may not be available in like any regular dashboard, Entropy most likely 99% of the time has that information somewhere in their data catalog for sure. Okay, this just dropped. Entropy Advisors V0 Arbitrum Analytics. This is essentially detailing the DAO's $100 million treasury management program. This is actually insane. It's funny how this dropped literally while I was making the video, but nonetheless, pretty much the same data that you saw in Dune, you'll probably see over here, but they do a great job, as I mentioned earlier, of detailing all of the things that you may want to know that may not be available anywhere else. So deployments overview for the treasury management assets. You have RWA deployments, ETH deployments, stablecoin deployments, anything Arbitrum related. These guys are your people. So make sure to check out this website. Again, they dropped this literally 30 minutes ago. And yeah, shout out to Entropy. And of course, lastly, an honorable mention to the Arbitrum Portal. Now, you're not going to find a ton of data here. You can actually, if you go to the chain section and you go to the stats, you will see the amount of chains on mainnet, the total amount bridged, and see which Arbitrum chains are active. You can also go to the navigator to see all the different Arbitrum chains here and kind of section it off by the different category. But just in general, the Arbitrum Portal is a great place to just take a look and find new protocols, see which incentives are live on which ones. Like for example, Euler has incentives going live all the way up until the 20th, so you better get on that one quick if you want. You can look at the ecosystem essentials like DeFi, AI and DePIN, gaming, consumer, all that stuff. And I think the nice part about the Arbitrum Portal is that it's slowly becoming more of a living thing. Now, I'm also kind of saying this because your boy does a little bit of work here myself. I'm not a dev, but yeah, I'm a little bit of a curator. But definitely expect this to evolve over time. The portal is going to get very exciting in a little bit, especially this year. A little bit of alpha for you there. TLDR, great place to find new projects and just section it off by the different categories that exist. I'll end it off by saying there's tons of data out there and there's tons of different ways to measure that data. So if you see different numbers or kind of like nuances between different platforms, just know that some of these guys use different ways to track the same metric. And that doesn't mean that one or the other is wrong. It just means that they just have different methodologies. And that's why I use multiple. Just like if you're doing research on anything, you want to use multiple different sources so you're not kind of biasing towards one. All the teams I listed here today are incredible. I'm sure there are other analytics platforms that I might have missed, to be honest, that maybe I don't even have on my roster quite yet. So if there's any that you use currently to track data information, let me know. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.